guys, welcome back. Today we're working on the rear suspension. I'm waiting on some pieces to be painted up here on the front for my caster camber plates and strut tower brace, which means I can't put on my struts yet until I get the caster camber plates in. And then I'll do the front springs and the brakes and everything else. So in the meantime, while I'm waiting on that, we're going to work on the rear suspension, which actually has already been done except for the springs. A couple of years ago I replaced the lower control arms just because I got a deal on them. You can't even really see them in there. We'll see those in a minute. Still have the drum brakes back here. But I'm going to go ahead and swap out these springs. These are the factory springs that are in here and they've been cut. So I've got a little gap there. I'm putting in the Steeda Sport springs. I'm hoping that's going to bring that down a little bit. This is probably a good inch or so in here, and I don't want that. I get to sit maybe almost down to the tire. And these are the factory rims. These are not the 17-inch rims, so it's going to come down quite a way to meet the tire. And let's see what these springs look like. There they are. Nice looking springs. They say Steeda on them somewhere. So let's go throw these in. Hopefully I don't have to cut them. They're wound small on the bottom where they sit on the control arm. And of course they're flat on the top. So if you have to cut these, then you're losing your flat surface there. So let's just put these in like they are, and we're going to see how the car sits. So I have the car right now is somewhat level. The front end is on jack stands. And then the back end I have up on these little homemade wheel cribs there. But the car is fairly level. It may be a tiny bit higher in the front than it is in the back, but it's close enough. And it's level side to side. So it should give me a fairly accurate view of how it's going to sit once I change out the springs. So let's get started. Alright, so we're working on the other side too. Got both wheels off. The car is solely on the jack. So now we need to throw in some jack stands. And I'm going to put these jack stands right. Let's see, I don't know if I have enough light in here for you. Right at the very front of the control arm, which the control arm bolts in. The bolt is right here. So I'm going to put it right across here, this part of the frame. Right up next to the muffler, but that's where that's going, and that'll be out of the way of the control arm swinging down, which we're going to do in a minute. So I'm going to do that on both sides, and then we'll be ready to lower the car onto the jack stands. What? Very good.
Well, I don't know if he would recognize me.
Alright, so car is now on jack stands, and the rear end is hanging all the way down. It's really just hanging from the shocks. So what I'm going to do is remove this bolt from the bottom of the shock, the bolt back here from the back of the quad shock, and pull this off. And then I'm going to put the jack under my drum here and just take the weight off of this shock here and pull this bolt out, and then I'm going to let the jack down, and that's going to allow the spring to come out. So yeah, here goes. Yeah, as you can see, I actually put the jack under the end of the control arm here, where the bracket is, right here. So yeah, shouldn't do that on the drum like I was saying before. So I pulled off my quad shock, and the shock is loose down here. So now I'm ready just to let the jack down, and that should let enough tension off the spring, or we can pull that out of there. Probably an inch and a half lower there. Let's see if this spring's getting loose. Oh yeah, basically falling out. Now this is a stock spring that's been cut. So factory spring, you actually have to loosen the other side as well and let this come down even more. But the spring has already been cut. You should be able to do just one side at a time. There's the stock spring. You can see it's not progressive rate. See right there where I've cut it. Let's compare the height. They're standing about the same height. So now I guess we need to put this spring in and see if it makes a difference. I'm actually going to do the other spring. I'll do them both together before I check the height on that. Put the car back together, set it on the tires, and see how it looks. And then if they're not short enough, I'll have to cut some off. All right, you see I've already got my insulator there. It is good to have these on the car. That keeps metal off of metal. Keeps the creaking and groaning and all that stuff away. There's also one down here on the bottom, which appears to be stuck on there. I can't get it off. All right, now we have some light. So yeah, that's right. It's on there, right there. Just stuck on the control arm. So I'm gonna set the new spring on there. All right, so put the jack over on that side. I've got that side jacked up maybe a couple inches or so, and that will drop this side a couple inches. I'll give you a little bit more space to work with. It's gonna be tight. If you're putting in something like stock springs, you're going to have to take more stuff apart to get this axle to drop further, but or use a spring compressor. But these should fit in there. By the way, the pigtail right there, that point, you want that pointing towards the driver's side. So when it's in, it'll be turned just like that. So you may have to turn it different ways to get it in here. Then you can spin it around. So I'm gonna set this camera down and see if I can get this in there. I'm gonna need two hands because I gotta get this there on top of the spring. A little isolator there. All right, hold on one second. Okay, so it was just a bit of struggling, but I did get it in there. Really just have to kind of spin the spring around and kind of change the height of it, and then you're trying to finagle this isolator in there to get it up over there without getting messed up. So looks like I got it in there. Pigtail's facing the right direction, so ready to start jacking this side up now. So as I jack this up, this quad shock is going to go on here first. I'll just kind of get it right when the hole lines up, and then the shock should go into place right after that. And then bolt this up, and this side will be done. I'll start on the other side. done. Now we're gonna move to the other side and really just do the same thing. And I'm not gonna tighten up the bolts yet or the nuts for here and the shock until I get the car back on all fours and see how the height is, which we'll do here in just a couple minutes. Be right back. Alright, I had some music playing in the background, so I had to cut the audio to this clip. But there you have it, stock Steeda Sport Springs in the rear. That's the amount of gap you have there, and that's too much. That's not going to work. So I'm going to have to pull these springs back out. Just follow that same process. I'm going to cut off a coil and a half, and then put it all back together, and we'll try it again. I got that spring back out of there. By the way, this is a 16-inch wheel. I've got two 55/50s on there. And it's roughly unweighted, full tread, about 25 and 7/8 inches tall. Maybe 25 and 3/4. No, 25 and 7/8. So just to give you perspective on where we are, I'm going to cut them. And got a couple wheels here I normally use. I got a 4.5-inch wheel. This is a thick one. I don't use the little thin wheels. They weren't too good on these heavy springs. And I also have a 4-inch wheel. I'm using the 4-inch today. And it's Harbor Freight. I'm going to cut a coil and a half. So I'm going to start here, go on a full turn, and then come another half to right here. So I'm cutting second coil down here, right here. And then I'll do the same on the other spring. Be sure to wear gloves and safety glasses. There'll be sparks flying everywhere. I'll probably do this on the ground since I don't have anybody to help me hold it. I'll just put this on the ground and put my foot on it. And just cut away. I'll probably cut through the thinner top coil and down into the second coil here. All right, let's get to it. All right, I'm just gonna let these cool for a minute, and then we'll throw them in the car. I'm not gonna do any touch-up paint yet. On these ends that were cut, I'll wait until I test them out first, then I'll take them back out and paint them, and then I'll put them back in. Because chances are I may have to cut another half coil, so that's why I don't want to spend time prepping that and painting it yet. So yeah, I'm gonna let these cool, throw them in, and then we'll see where it sits. I'll be right back. All right, so I've got the springs back in. As you can see, I've still got a decent gap there. And there's about maybe a 1/4 inch to 3/8 of an inch bigger gap here than there is on the other side. The other side is looking not too bad. Not as much light over here, but kind of see it's not bad. I can still get my fingers up there above the tire, but I think I'm going to take this side off, maybe another 1/4 of a coil, maybe the passenger side, maybe half a coil. Just because from what I can tell, springs are both turned the same way. The car is completely level across the back, where the tires are level. And the front end is level too, and it's level front to back. So if I can't figure out why this side is higher, I'll make that I'll make this a half a coil off over here and then a quarter on the other side, and that should even it up. All right, I'll check back in with you in, I don't know, 15-20 minutes. All right, I did confirm both the springs were in the right way with the pigtails facing the same direction. So I don't know if maybe it could be the way, since I cut the top, it's no longer flat, the way the top is sitting with both of these cut ends on the driver's side. Maybe that has something to do with it. But I think I'm going to cut just a quarter coil off the driver's side and a half coil off the passenger side. Go ahead and get these ends cleaned up and painted. And any other little tweaks or adjustments I need to do, I will just I'll just do it by turning the coil just a little bit, because that will make a difference. If your coils are turned differently with the pigtail facing a different direction, it can make as much as half of an inch difference. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'll let you know how it goes. All right, just back together. I'm done. So it's not quite as low as I'd wanted, but it is a tad, maybe ½ inch lower. But I had to stop because I've taken off about 1 3/4 coils on the driver's side and about 2 1/4 coils off the passenger side, but the passenger side is still a little bit higher. So I'm gonna need to wait until I get the trunk lid on, get the front suspension done. Now I've got this sitting level with the jack stands, but I think something may still be causing it not to sit perfectly level in the back. So I'm gonna wait until I get this front suspension on, get the wheels on, and then I'll revisit the back end and see what I need to do there. But it looks good. I think it looks better than it did. The biggest reason for changing these springs in the first place was to improve the ride. So that's the main goal. It only needed to be a little bit lower anyways. But using the Steeda springs, even though I cut a bunch of pieces off of them, still should greatly improve the ride. And I'm going to do the same thing on the front coming up soon. So probably in the next week or so, we'll start seeing more videos on the front suspension. And that's it. Thanks for tuning in. Go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe. That'll really help me out. And y'all take it easy. We'll see you next time. See ya.